Holy moly. Best breakfast sausage you'll ever eat right there. I was a butcher for 13 years, and in that time, I've made many different types of breakfast sausage, and this recipe is by far the best one. I used to make this for friends and family. They always said it was way better than anything you bought at the store, and they always came back for more. I'm gonna take this bone-in pork shoulder butt roast and debone it, and then grind it in my grinder. Now, you could just buy ground pork from the store and mix in all the ingredients. I'm gonna show you a special method that I do with the grinder, and it's gonna give you the best texture for a sausage. Just make sure to stick around to the end because I'm gonna show you a really cool way to store your sausage and to slice it up into patties. Now, before I start cutting up the meat, I'm gonna show you how to keep it ice cold while we work. And the colder the meat is, the better this is gonna turn out. So I'm just gonna fill up a bowl with some ice, and then I'm gonna put this other bowl on top of it. I'm only gonna use 5 pounds for this recipe. If I have any left over after I take the bone out and grind it up, I might use the rest for another recipe. And cut this bone out. It's got a weird shape to it. Kind of one of those things that just take practice to be able to like take this out all in one piece, but you can just cut around it the best you can. I usually just cut right down this little blade right here, right down right here. On the other side of this, it's gonna have like a weird bone coming down. Kind of have to find your way around it. We're gonna grind it all up though, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's been years since I worked in a meat cutter profession job, so it's crazy I could still do that like that. But see how that on top right there got a weird shape? So I cut down that side plate, and then you kind of have to cut around and dig this out of there. Just want to clean this bone the best you can. Set that aside. I like to use these little boning knives. You want about, you know, this big of pieces, I'd say about 1 inch in size. Sometimes you'll have like sinew, something hard on here. You just want to make sure you cut that off. This one feels all right though. And I like a pretty good ratio of fat in my sausage, at least around 20%. Best way to do this is cut it up into multiple strips and then cut a bunch up into cubes. Now, I just happen to have one of these meat and deli counter scales. I'm gonna put my bowl on here. It's gonna automatically tear it out, and we're gonna weigh up 5 pounds. Actually, I'll probably do about 5¼ pounds because a little bit sometimes gets hung up in the grinder. 4.53, 5.26. And now we're gonna go ahead and grind up our meat. Now I'm gonna do my first grind through this larger grind plate. We like to call this the chili plate. Let's send it. And as you can see there, we get a nice chunky texture of meat and fat. Now I'm gonna keep this in this bowl with the ice on the bottom just to keep it nice and cold while I'm mixing up my seasoning. Now, a lot of people like this coarser grind for a sausage, and it's perfectly fine to do it like this, but I'm actually gonna mix in all the ingredients, and then I'm gonna grind it again on a little bit smaller grind plate. And you're gonna need 5 teaspoons of salt. I like to use the coarse kosher salt. Next, we're gonna need 1 tablespoon of cracked black pepper. I like to crack mine fresh. You can use pre-ground, but fresh cracked is the best. Now I'm gonna need 4 teaspoons of sage. I'm just using ground sage. All right, we got 4 teaspoons. Now this calls for 4 teaspoons of dried thyme. I only found fresh at the store. They were out of the dried. So anytime you're gonna use fresh herbs, you're gonna use about 3 times the recommended dry. So instead of 4 teaspoons of dried, we're gonna use 12 teaspoons of fresh. In other words, 4 tablespoons of fresh thyme. Before I add it, I'm actually gonna give this a little rough chop. This is just gonna help to bring out the flavor. Like I said, we're also gonna grind this up, and that's gonna help to grind it up a little bit more. All right, I'm just gonna add that to our bowl. Next, I'm gonna get 1 teaspoon of dried rosemary. And then you also need 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. All right, next is 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. We're also going to add 1 teaspoon of cayenne. This isn't going to make it really too hot, but if you don't want any spice in there, you can just omit that. And you can't make a good breakfast sausage without red pepper flakes. Now we're going to add 1 teaspoon of that. All right, next we're just going to give that a good mix. You can add the seasoning one by one into the meat, but sometimes it can get clumped up into one little area and it won't really mix the best, so I like to do it like this. All right, now we're going to take our chilled meat and we're going to mix a seasoning in there. Now once you have this good and mixed in here, if you want, you can go ahead and cook up a little patty. Make sure it's got enough salt, seasoning in there. If you want to add anything extra, you can. But this should be really good, just like this. Smelling good. I don't always put my sausage on ice like that, but if you can, it's always a good thing to do. All right, I'm gonna put that back on my ice to keep cold. Now I'm gonna change the plate on this grinder. See what I mean? A little bit of meat collects inside of there. And now I'm gonna put on a regular grind plate. All right, now let's go ahead and grind it up again. And this is gonna give it a little bit more of a smooth texture. Now normally what I would do is set this in the fridge for a day or two, and it's gonna let the flavors really evolve. You know how you cook a meal and you put it in the fridge for a day or two and then it tastes so much better? Basically the same thing. Now I'm gonna show you a really cool tip how I would normally roll this up to store in the freezer, and another way how you can easily slice it into patties. All right, so what I did was take a piece of plastic wrap and just put this down on the counter, and you wanna add about a 1 pound log on here. All right, and then you can just roll this up like so, and then roll it up like this. Now I got like a little sausage log like you buy at the store. All right, we'll go ahead and tie up one end. I might have to kind of come back and do the other end again. All right, just gonna cut each end of this off. And you can easily store them in the freezer like that. All right, we're gonna cook up a couple pieces here to try. Not only does this look good, but it smells absolutely amazing. All right, let's go ahead and taste this and see what we got. Mmm. 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 Man. It's been a while since I made this. I forgot how good this is. Holy moly. Mmm. So rich in flavor. You can really taste the sage. A little bit of a kick from the cayenne. Man, that is some good stuff. Mmm. 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 Man, best breakfast sausage you'll ever have right there. So I had this in the freezer for about an hour and a half or so, and now it's got a nice little stiff feel to it. You don't want to freeze it up all the way, but if you do it like this, it's going to help you to be able to slice this into some nice patties easily. All right, now we can slice it into some patties. And it looks just like the ones you get at the store. And just like that, you have some nice breakfast patties. You can put this between some parchment paper and store in the freezer for later use. And there you have it, one of the best breakfast sausage you'll ever eat. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more videos.